When we look at the abdominal wall and the hip structures, the muscle and fascia in this area of the body is not unlike any other muscle and fascia that we have in the body. It really wants to receive energy first. So in order for our human bodies to be very effective and efficient at movement, what we seek to do first is capture energy. That is inherent within all viscoelastic structures, so muscle, fascia, skin, etc. That makes us a viable structure, biological structure, to move around with efficiency. So when we think about this, it's very important for the muscular system, it's very important for the skin, the collagen, and the connective tissue in our fascia to really load well. The more we can actually load well, the more we can conserve our muscular system, and the more we can actually improve efficiency in the body. So a more intermediate form of a ViPR exercise that may, in an integrated way, may reach the abdominal wall and hips is to actually start to do a transverse plane lunge at initial range of motion, where we're opening up the hips. But with that, concurrent to that, we actually want to drive the hands in the opposite direction to accentuate the transverse plane load. So when we think about gait, we talk about how the pelvis and shoulders have a tendency to conserve angular momentum. So in other words, my pelvis is going to turn this way in gait, and at the same time, my shoulders are going to rotate in the opposite direction. And with those two rotations canceling each other out, the resultant vector is straight ahead. So in order to accentuate that, we're going to take first a shoveling hold. So in this case, my right hand, palm facing up, is going to be the hold, and I'm grabbing the end. The reason why I might start with this particular hold is to increase the lever arm on the ViPR itself, and also to increase the load on my body without changing the ViPR's mass. So we could definitely regress this by going back to our standard hold, our neutral hold. But for this demonstration, the purpose of this demonstration is to show a more immediate progression. So I'm going to start right here with the shoveling hold. So as I take an out turn to the opposite direction, because remember, if this is my levered end of the ViPR is going to rotate in that direction. So what I want to do is I want to step with my pelvis in the opposite direction. So my foot, my lead foot in here, in this case will be my left foot. It opens up, the pelvis follows, and at the same time, I'm going to be driving the ViPR in the opposite direction, and then I come back. So if we take a look at what's going on in the pelvis and the shoulder complex, because I'm going with my left foot and out turning, my pelvis is going and rotating in a counterclockwise direction. If I drive both my hands to my right, that's going to facilitate a clockwise rotation in my shoulders. So what's going to happen then is I've got a counterclockwise pelvic motion and a clockwise motion in the shoulders. And the net effect is I'm starting to wind a lot of the abdominal wall and the hip musculature and the fascia. I'm going to wind it up in the transverse plane. So this is going to have a great effect in through my transfer into good gait patterns, into good running patterns. I can emulate with a lot more efficiency. The key is this. If I start to do both of those movements, I need to facilitate motions in the hip joint and in the thoracic spine. If I don't see a lot of motion coming from the hip joint and the thoracic spine, we could only assume that that motion is going to have to come through the lumbar segments. Physiologically, that's not ideal. What we don't want to do is put an egregious load on the lumbar segments. We want to really take a lot of that rotation, a lot of that motion out of the lower back, recognizing that it's going to move a little bit, and that's okay. But we want to put more emphasis and movement on the hips and on the shoulders. So again, from this position, I'm driving out, I'm coming back, I'm driving out opposite shoulder, opposite hip rotation, and I'm coming back. And then after a number of repetitions, I would simply switch sides. In this case, my left hand is palm up, and I'm stepping to the right, and then I come back, and I'm opening up the shoulders in a reverse direction to my hips. This is a very, very effective but intermediate way to train the abdominal complex, the hip complex, and all the structures in that area in an integrated way so that I can transfer into the activities of life so I can enjoy it with a lot more efficiency.